Well, good morning, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Steve Collins coming to you from beautiful San Antonio, Texas, the second most powerful, passionate, purposeful coach and speaker in the world. I hope you guys are pumped for this wonderful opportunity to create the life for yourself that you believe is available to you. Forgive me for this weird imagery right here. My little thingy that sticks to the car, I took it off this weekend. I didn't put it back on. All right, let's have a conversation, shall we? Are you struggling with a relationship? My guess is if you are a human being who is not stuck on an island somewhere by yourself, you're struggling with a relationship. Even if you were on an island by yourself, like Tom Hanks in Castaway, he was still struggling with Wilson and himself, clearly. But are you struggling with a relationship? I'm going to give you a little bit of help today. And just so you know, let's be real clear. The majority of the videos that I produce and the content that I come up with comes from me learning and applying in my life the principles, the methodologies, the tools and systems that enable me to continually grow and improve. And so as I learn those, I share those with you. I'm not merely regurgitating information to you that I have learned. I'm sharing with you what I have put into practice. So I hope it is a blessing for you today. Struggling in a relationship, let me tell you how to fix it. Number one, the number one part of any relationship that creates a problem is when you have uncommunicated expectations. Uncommunicated expectations. There's a funny thing that happens in marriages when people have been married a very long time, and it's fascinating. There's a pattern there, and that is that one marriage partner will hold the other marriage partner accountable for something they forgot to tell them. In other words, a husband may get mad at his wife because she didn't wash his golf shirt that he really needed for Sunday, but he didn't ask her to wash the golf shirt. He's holding somebody accountable for an action or activity that they failed to communicate. So communication is key when it comes to expectations. Typically, disappointment is rooted in an expectation that is not being met or a need that was not communicated that is not being met. Let me tell you how this happens. Let's say that a wife has had a very long day and she's exhausted and she lays down on the couch and she thinks to herself, I really wish my husband would come over and just hold me. I wish he would just hold me. And he doesn't, because who knows what he's thinking? Maybe he's thinking, wow, she's had a rough day. She probably needs some alone time. Wow, she's had a rough day. I probably shouldn't mess with her. Wow, she's had a rough day. Maybe I'll offer her a glass of wine or something like that. But she may get upset because he didn't come over and hug her. Here's key number one. Honey, I've had a very rough day today. Will you please come sit on the couch and just cuddle with me? Just hold me. Does that make sense? Communicating your expectation. Now, here's where it gets tricky. What if you've communicated your expectation and the other party in your life has chosen not to accommodate that expectation? Well, now you have the opportunity to have the greatest exchange ever, and that is to exchange your expectation for appreciation. What can you find in this other person that you are still yet grateful for? What can you find in them that you are still yet grateful for? You take the expectation and you trade it for appreciation, and you recognize that although this may be a difficult season, we got each other's back. Although this may be a difficult season, we're gonna cover each other. Although this may be a difficult season, we're gonna remain a united front. We're gonna get through this. Although this may be a difficult season, I'm not gonna make a permanent decision during a temporary frustration in this season. You have each other's back. So you, number one, must communicate expectations clearly to give the other party an opportunity to decide if they're willing to be a part of that expectation for you. Number two, if you have expressed your expectation and they have chosen not to accommodate that, well, then you have the opportunity to get bitter and angry and frustrated and hurt and hold it against them, which, by the way, is not good for you. It's actually unhealthy for you physically. Or you can say, you know what, I'm going to go in my own head and I'm going to tell myself what I appreciate about this other person. I'm going to exchange my expectation for appreciation, and I'm going to focus on the good. I'm going to focus on the good, knowing you have no control whatsoever with how the other party is going to show up. You can only control yourself and your responses, which are much wiser and safer than your reactions, because it is tough, ladies and gentlemen. When you hurt, when you're upset, when you don't feel like your needs are being met, when you feel like you're not being taken care of, whatever it may be, it's easy to get upset. It just doesn't do anybody any good. Okay, I gave you nugget number 1. Clearly communicate your expectations. I gave you nugget number 2. When the expectations are willingly being chosen to not happen, then you exchange that expectation for appreciation. Nugget number 3, this is the big one. Okay, y'all ready for the big one? Here's the really big one. You must forgive from your heart. Forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean I'm okay with what you did. Forgiveness does not mean we good. Forgiveness does not mean let's go to Starbucks and have a coffee. Forgiveness does not mean I feel so amazing about you now. Forgiveness does not mean we aight. Forgiveness does not mean I'm no longer hurt from that. Forgiveness does not mean, hey, everything's hunky-dory. Forgiveness does not mean I trust you again and I'm ready to move forward. Forgiveness does not mean any of that. Forgiveness is your choice to set the prisoner free that you think is the other party, but it's actually you who's in prison. It is you who is in prison. So when you, number 1, clearly communicate your expectations, you have a better chance of knowing there's an understanding about what you may need. Number 2, if your other party in this relationship chooses not to meet those expectations, you can exchange that expectation for appreciation and focus on what it is that you appreciate about the other person. Second, that was number 2. Number 3, forgiveness. Forgiveness releases you from staying in judgment of them, which just really messes you up and messes them up and keeps you divided. So are you having problems in a relationship right now? 3 simple keys. Number 1, clearly communicate your expectations. Number 2, if the other party chooses not to meet those expectations, that's okay. You can exchange expectation for appreciation. And number 3, if you find yourself hurt or embittered or angry, the best thing you can do for yourself is to forgive them, give them grace, and let it go. Tomorrow's a new day. God's mercies are new every morning. Hope this helps you. Have a great day, guys.